Okay, so for this next step, we are going to actually work on our agent. We've got our deployer contract and the blueprint contract ready. So all we got to do now is build the agent that's going to work with them. Um, what we're going to do is we're going to have a few services and a main agent script. So this is the main script for our agent, and it's going to call our different services within a loop. So we've got 4 services. News service is going to get our headlines. The AI service is what's going to actually look at the headlines, decide what's funny or interesting, and then turn that into a meme coin. Our deployer is then going to, based on that information, deploy the meme coin on Polygon. And finally, our Twitter service is going to tweet about it. So here is our main loop. We instantiate our different services, and then we're going to run our main loop here, and we're going to check for uh, new headlines every 15 minutes. You could make it like this is up to you for news. The turnover is not that fast. But if you wanted something to be a lot quicker, like maybe new tweets, and you really want your agent to react to the latest information, then of course you can do a you can poll for information more often, or you can use a WebSocket if you want like real-time market data. Maybe you can stream that from most centralized exchanges will have a socket that you can plug into and stream market data. Maybe you want to do the same with on-chain data. You want to look at, I don't know, swaps or deployments on other chains or some sort of chain activity. So you can connect to a node with a WebSocket or just poll for events, see what's happening, and then send that over to your agent as an input and have your agent take decisions based on it. All right. So the news service is really nothing fancy. We're using feed parser, which is an extension for dealing with RSS feeds, and then we're getting a list of headlines. So this is very basic entry-level Python. It's not super interesting, but it's going to return to us. This service is going to give us a list of strings, which are going to be the headlines that we get from the RSS feed. All right, so now once we've got our headlines, we are going to send them over to our AI service, right, to our agent. So this is where it gets a little bit slightly more interesting. This is where the magic happens and where you have to work with a good prompt. The prompts we're using here, they're actually generated by GPT. We're going to work with OpenAI, but feel free. You can change this to Anthropic or DeepSeek, any other model that you'd like to work with. I'm just going to use OpenAI here because it's the most common, and it also allows us to generate pictures. Downside is you're going to have a lot of restrictions around like safety, especially when it comes to crypto. So you might run into some problems with that, but it's good enough for the example, right? So what we're going to do when we're evaluating the headlines, of course, we're going to have our prompt here, right? So when we send a first message to GPT, we're going to give the agent instructions, right? So this is a short list of things that the agent is supposed to do. How do you actually assess whether a headline would do a good meme? So we're giving here some general pointers, and then here we're doing some sort of like few shot learning by giving a few examples of previous meme coins and what they were based on. Right. And then we're sending this over, but where it gets interesting is that we're going to use functions. And what functions are with GPT is it's a feature that allows us to get structured JSON as a response from GPT. Right. So here, we're going to define under parameters, we're going to define the JSON that we expect as a response. And that's going to make it a lot easier for us to parse programmatically. So we want an object, right? A dictionary in Python. And the dictionary is going to have evaluations, and that's going to be an array. So that's going to be an array for all of the headlines. We're going to give an array of strings as an input, right? And what's going to come back to us is an array of the same length. But within that array, we're going to get the headline back. So that's going to be the same headline that we sent in as an input. And we're going to get a Boolean here is worthy, right? So true or false. True if the headline is worthy of a meme coin or not. And then we're going to add another field here, reasoning, where the agent is going to explain why it came to this decision. We're not actually going to use it, but this is good to have. First of all, because generally in your prompt, when you ask the agent to reason about the thing that it's doing, it improves its performance. And second of all, it's interesting if you are not actually getting the results that you desire. If you want to debug your model and improve your prompt, it's really good to look at those explanations. Like, how is the model reaching this conclusion? And then can I tweak my prompt a little bit so that it changes the way it reasons about the problem. Right, so we're going to get, and all of those fields are required. So we're sure that whenever we set headlines, right, we're going to get back an object of the same, an array of the same length with that information properly structured. Right, and so we can directly afterwards, whenever we get our response, we can just load it as a JSON object, right? And then from then we get a dictionary in Python, and we can manipulate the data and check it. So it's going to be a lot easier to work with than if we had to parse some sort of natural language. Right, so back to our agent. We've evaluated our headlines. We may have several headlines that are meme worthy, and we don't want to deploy 5 coins at the same time. It's just going to be too spammy. So we're just going to choose one. Right, so for our next step, we're going to add, we're going to create a list of all of the potentially interesting headlines, and we're going to ask our AI agent now to just select one out of all of those. Right? Which one is the best for a meme coin? And based on this, based on the best headline, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to create a function. And this time, we want the function to return a JSON object with everything that we need for our meme coin based on the headline. All right, so we want the name of the token, we want the trading symbol, we want a short description that we can post on Twitter later, and then we're still going to keep the original headline in the response. All right, so we're going to get this, and same deal here. We will be able to parse this response as JSON, and we can create, right, we've got a small data model, which is going to take all of the outputs from the model, right, and make sure that they're properly typed and structured. Right, so once that's done, we are going to create, so final step for our AI agent is going to create an image based on our shield line, right, based on the description of the meme coin, and maybe the headline. Right, so here we are using DALL-E, so this is again available with the OpenAI API, and we're going to ask DALL-E to create an image that we can later post on social media to advertise our new coin. Right, so right, then we get a URL from the OpenAI API, which we're going to keep aside for now, and we are going to deploy our token, right? So we don't need the image yet. We're just going to deploy it, but we want to make sure that the image is properly generated and we don't run into a bug at this stage, so that once we've deployed the token, we've got all the information we need to post on social media. All right, so here, deploy token is going to be a Moccasin script. Right, so this is where it's pretty cool. Where Moccasin is really cool is that you can use it within your Python project, and you can take advantage of all of its features. If here, like you might say, oh, well, you could use Web3.py or like maybe some other framework that lets you do on-chain actions from Python. You can, but for example, if you were to do this, you would have to keep your private key somewhere in clear in your environment variables. But with Moccasin, you can use your account management to keep your private key encrypted and your credentials more secure. Right, so what we're going to do to deploy the token is we're going to get the network that Moccasin is on. So we're going to need to specify Polygon network, right, when we run the script later. We are going to create an instance of our factory contract or deployer contract. Using the ABI here, we can't actually yet access with Moccasin the ABI if we don't deploy the contract, but we've already deployed it. Right? We've got an address for it. And then, so decimals is not going to change. The supply, we're going to use the same number here, but if you want, you can change it, or you can make the agent decide on the supply. And we're just going to have the owner share be random. Right, and then we call our contract with all of those arguments, right? And we let Moccasin handle the transaction. And so that's all going to be done. And when we're done, we get the new token address here as a return value that we're then going to be able to post on social media as a link to QuickSwap. Right? Our last transaction on chain deployed the MemeCoin. We got the address out, and we also added liquidity to QuickSwap, if you remember. And so that means that you can access the liquidity pool to purchase the token directly, as long as you've got the address. Right. So we're creating this QuickSwap link here, and then we are adding it to our Twitter text. Right, so here, that's the description of the meme coin that our agent gave us earlier. And then we're adding this information. If people want to buy our meme coin, they can go on QuickSwap and they can trade on there. Right? And then finally, our Twitter service here is going to post to Twitter. So the Twitter service is not really something to be proud of, but we are using the Tweetkit package, which uses Selenium, like a headless browser, to log in and log into Twitter with your credentials and post on your behalf. If you wanted to do this properly, you would use the Twitter API, but it's a bit pricey. And it's not really needed for this example. We're not doing a course on interacting with Twitter, so this will have to do. Right, and so very simple workflow. You log in on Twitter, you post your picture and your text, and then that's it. You are going to be advertising your freshly, newly minted token on Twitter. Right, so we'll now, in the last video, run this entire script using Moccasin. Right. One last thing, right, is Moccasin script expect a Moccasin main function. Right, so this, we have this tiny bit here, right, and then calls on our main here, our main loop. And so when we run the Moccasin run command with the agent here, right, Moccasin is going to look for this main function for this function name to execute. Right, so this is what we're going to do in our final video, where we run our agent and end up with our meme coin and a social media post advertising it.